Whoa.
All right, we're on.
Is this a nineties hip hop video? Why is it tilted?
I don't know.
It's on balance.
Let everyone know that I'm.
Oh, there you go.
And you're the center of the show.
I didn't expect to be.
There's your shirt. The hip hop video and the sweatshirt is really.
Okay,
Okay.
I hope this meeting will be entertaining. If not,
Dirty.
It was, it just is.
that will make it entertaining.
If anyone didn't free grab a break. Volleyball, I'd say.
They've been-
Oh,
What's the name of your folder? Is it building committees?
It's in my favorite agenda.
On Monday, you're, oh, here is school building committee. Got it. I really don't think I should have to do this anymore, since how you found somebody to do it better than me last
Who
week.
was it?
You.
Oh my God.
That's it, right? Yeah, that's the.
I saw the
You
video.
gotta consider it.
I do.
You want me to do it?
There's a camera there, Don, watch out.
All right. We'll call this meeting to order at 6:38 PM. Roll call, Kristen Bagley.
Here.
Kristen Canusis. Ann Dixon.
Yeah.
Anna Dos Reis Kutu.
Here.
Alita Hall.
Yeah.
Christine Kennedy. James Pearson. Kim Shockley.
Here.
Amy Anzalone.
Here,
Mario Cranium. Don Coward.
Here.
Stephen Angel. Russ Hill.
Here.
Bob Savetti. Dan Perillo. Chris DeVerna. Hillary Lima. We have a quorum. Did it. Emergency evacuation procedure in the event of an emergency or smoking building.
We practiced today.
Yes, we can exit out this way or, yeah.
Use these protocols.
Yep.
Moving on to approval of the minutes, we have a few here. We haven't had a quorum for.
And just to clarify, when I originally did this agenda, I wasn't sure if 5/6/17 was approved. It was. So the 5/17 one is been approved.
Okay,
So you just have to do 6/14 and 6/28.
all right.
I
A
said
motion
both.
to approve the minutes of June 14th, 2023.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of June 14, 2023.
Second the motion.
Motion second, any discussion on those minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of June 28th, 2023?
Motion to approve.
Motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion?
you can run it to a Google Doc.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Why did you do
The
this?
ayes have it.
That's just dealing with him every day.
Combat.
Sorry.
She's Barbie, he's just.
Just one. I live in a house full of women. I am just that.
All right, stage 2 update. I don't know if you want to handle this.
I can. So Phil's not here. So first thing I'll tell you that Phil presented this PowerPoint that I can send around, but it's pretty much the same PowerPoint he has shown us every single time. He came to the last school committee meeting on July 27th, and he presented the PowerPoint to the school committee. And then on the August 10th meeting, the school committee will vote to recommend that, we move forward with the stage 2 application. Anna can add to that. She was there. The only thing that Phil had asked, which I'm not sure if he is connected with you or Dan yet, was what the date would be for the town council to vote on it. And do you need one date or do you need 2 dates? I mean, you theoretically could do it in one day, do a presentation and vote.
Yeah,
We spread it out over 2, just in case there were things that,
I think it needs to be the August 22nd meeting because the next meeting would be too close to that September 15th deadline. But that's what the next stage 2 of the deadline is, September 15th, right?
yeah, we have to get it in.
And it looks like in here you have 1.2 for septic.
Yeah, so that was something Dan wanted to talk about. He's coming in right now.
Wow.
So we would
Good evening.
just get to the part of the PowerPoint, we were talking about the high school
Yes.
and the sewer part. So do you want to kind of join in on that part?
Sure, so. We got 4 different options on how to solve the high school sewer project. Fuss and O'Neill is kind of the outside contractor that we've been utilizing for this. They made a recommendation. That we do a system where we. Put in a whole new sewer line, which is consistent with our facilities plan. They're basically all new piping on high school property, down to Reservoir Road, new pipe on Reservoir, up to Tayo, tie in on Tayo Garbage. So that project is about $4.2 million in total. What Don and I were talking about is there is, in the $25 million bond plan, wording regarding high school sewer upgrades. So the portion of the profit, the portion of the program on high school property is about 1.1 million. So we're looking to put 1.1 million into that $25 million bond to take up that portion of the project. And then the town will use other resources to fund the 3.2.
So we don't have to do anything different. It's already in there, but
Yeah.
we just, it wasn't specifically earmarked at the time. It was kind of put in there because we knew we would need something. And I think what Dan's providing is really more specific
Yeah.
guardrails on how that's going to be used.
That's how we kind of see it playing out. Obviously, if the bond passes, that's the plan. If the bond doesn't pass, then the unknown and B will have to come into play. But it has to happen either way. There has to be some kind of finality to getting the system in place. The one that's currently there is not usable. And we spend $2,000 a day to follow.
And when do we plan on starting the project, if possible?
That's the answer to that is, we don't know. We want to do it ASAP. Obviously, the council has to give final approval to the project.
Yeah, we have to make sure there's money allocated for.
So the financing is a big issue.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to have Bob break that down, but I don't think we wanna have a final determination. Truthfully, until whether we know the bond goes up or down. And that's $1 million of the project.
yeah,
Yeah, so to say, pass a financing plan that assumes this bond
I know.
is a big,
So it's almost like you need to pass a financing plan that doesn't,
well, then we need a plan B.
and then. Have this, because it needs to happen.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a case where we don't do septic.
Has to happen.
So, you know, that's just something
Minutes.
to factor in, like, what do we have for total funds on either side? And that's how we're doing it. How do the federal funds work? Like, can we say we're doing this project now because it needs to be done now? Is there reimbursement situations that can happen there? I don't know.
We'll even wonder too, if there was an option where you pump for 2 years until you get the federal funds, which are only gonna require us to be 600. Like, what's the cost of that versus all in it?
What's the cost of them?
Is that
Every day.
They're in the
If,
year,
yeah,
So
if we pump
18,000
every day.
if we pump.
Right,
So, and
so easily 15,000 a month, though.
could be, right. And it also depends on what's going on. So our original goal was to get that tank as empty as possible so we could inspect the inside of the tank. So there were times we were pulling out 2 truckloads a day because we were just trying to get it down. We've gotten it down as low as it's probably gonna go at this point. So Ray Plant is not pumping every single day. He pumps maybe weekly. We don't have any kids really in the building other than a few kids and some staff
In the summer,
in the summer.
and in the, I'm guessing once September comes.
Right, so and it's not a one-to-one, but they're producing approximately 1 truck's loads worth of wastewater a day. So 1 truckload comes out. During this last spring, some days we were pumping out 2 or 3 truckloads because we were trying to draw it down, but the other problem was we were catching rainwater and snow and anything else because it's an open tank. So whether we go 1 year, 2 years, whatever, Russ, Dan and I, we've already started thinking about, can we build some sort of cover to go over this open tank to divert away? So we're not paying to pump rainwater.
So on a monthly, more or less, if you estimate whether it's 1,500 or 2K, it's at least between $30,000 and $40,000 a month. It's a lot of money.
It's about $200,000 a year.
I'm going on a month just to kind of like,
Right, well, I'm just thinking budget wise.
Yeah.
Expenditure.
So there's a question of the,
Okay, I think it's actually an understandable question.
Why the arbitrary $600,001 miscellaneous payments or sounds like the same.
I think the $1.
I think it might be a typo as well.
It might, it's supposed to be $1.
He's rounding to make the numbers work.
Oh.
I
you
think
wanted
it gets
to-
to exactly.
Oh, because, yeah, we've got the.
The science lab,
Which
which
is,
have a
so it should be
specific dollar
$2.
tied to it.
I'm gonna make it $2.
The science lab is connected to the equity grant,
Yes.
so there's a percent that we pay for and the rest of it's in that grant.
Is that a quote? I mean, that looks like a quote for.
That's what I was saying. It seems very specific.
I think when we did the proposal, we said this amount of money for the gym with the bleachers and floor, this amount of money for the science labs. And then when you do the calculation of what percent we're required to, that's probably how we get to that calculation. But we don't have a quote on that work yet, because we don't have a way to pay for it until after the bond.
Wow, fire suppression.
That's the sprinklers.
So school committee August 10th,
To vote. Yep.
okay, and I think we own town council has one option, which is August 2nd.
Mhm. That's gonna be a doozy of a meeting.
Yeah. Did you essentially do items B through D here, or no? What's the rest of the items on the? update?
It's really all in that packet. It's the breakdown of the 25,000, which you see, which he's already gone over. The scope of 25 million, thank you. The scope of work, which you see for each building. And then the last thing I just was gonna bring up, he forwarded this to me. This is the Rhode Island Sustainable School Protocol. So and Alita may be aware of this as well. So I guess RIDE now requires with your application to identify and establish a green team. And the green team is assembled group of stakeholders from the school department, and then they identify an environmental vision statement. And then they plan to develop action plans to meet regular, steps. They monitor it. They have to do school environment surveys. There's curriculum that can be integrated into it. And how we will inform and involve the community in a green initiative. And then how we'll monitor and evaluate progress. So I summarize that. There's 5 pages here. I can send them around, but essentially we're gonna have to sign this. It's a requirement to have our stage 2 application. So he just sent this to me, so this is something we have to do. So there's another set of hurdles that we'll have to jump through.
So this is how we will become a more environmentally friendly.
Essentially,
school?
yep.
Through these improvements.
Yeah, like via what? We're getting a new roof and a new gym.
I think it's a Rhode Island school it's a school district agreement that it will commit to implementing a school as a tool, RI Sustainable School Protocol pursuant to RIDE School Construction Program. So there must be a requirement that says you have to establish this.
Like, I love the idea
Yeah.
of signing something
Yeah.
like that. I guess I just really wonder how and if.
Put like little plaques around the
Yeah.
building that kind of talk about mechanical systems, like it doesn't have to be anything, well, the
Mhm.
way I've seen it done on this type of like brand new whole project.
Yep.
You do it as simple as that, the new HVAC
Mine.
system
You can pass it around.
has this, with like a little diagram.
It improves this in this way.
Yeah, and it just kind of, and again, you're educating the people who come into the building and things like that, or like if you were doing ceilings somewhere, you can have like a section of open ceilings where you could walk by and they could see all the pipes and valves and, plaque that says, the valve can run a plumbing system.
And I think there's probably an opportunity with the well project to introduce environmental, conservation ideas. The roof thing is gonna be a big deal, in terms of what materials we're gonna use and how it's probably gonna keep the building a little bit drier than it's been in the past. So I think there's probably opportunities. Well, that's the whole point of the group. They'll have to come together and do that.
And Phil will give some real guidance on
Mhm.
things that they know are acceptable, and it's not anything like crazy. You don't have to. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Bumped into Don at this thing way back when at the painted
Yep.
unit, and there was some initiative to the state for the,
Yep.
I don't know if it's necessarily all state, but for the
Mhm.
solar panels.
Yep.
And identifying projects. Did we ever advance that? I feel like that's.
Yeah, so I did talk to them about a few different things, and I had a meeting. It was, I'm trying, Project Need or something. There was some project. a lot of it is tied to federal grants. A lot of it is very time sensitive in terms of what time of year. So the next round comes up like in January. And then there were certain requirements of things that you had to have in place. So the way we had left off, we did a Zoom call. The guy was gonna get me more information, but he hasn't got back to me. So I can circle back with him.
I
And
mean,
find out.
I think there was something definitely specific to like
Right.
energy efficient, like the window replacement at
Mhm.
Western jumped out 1.2 million. There was definitely a block that was
Yes.
specific to.
So I can circle back, and Mario helped broker that meeting. He wasn't able to attend it, but he helped kind of set it up, so I can touch base with Mario too. So that's all I had. I just wanted to review what you already saw, and then it's getting passed around that document that we'll sign. But I just wanted you to be aware of what it was.
Gotcha. All right, any other questions on the stage 2 updates?
This on Western, this number has gone way down. Did that include some of the grants that you had been mentioning? For the well,
Oh, I don't
Isn't
know.
that-
I don't,
this
We haven't-
breakdown is different.
I
than
don't,
it
I
has
haven't
been.
heard that we've got that grant.
So how, isn't that much less? 660,000?
Yeah, so-
Was before?
Yeah,
So
so,
they're now the
and
windows.
Russ and I can talk to this a little bit. So we had a gentleman come out, 2 of them. Tristan, I think you might have seen this there. We walked the property, he looked at the current existing system, and he kind of drew up a proposal for us. We were setting up a meeting with him. But basically what he said is the engineering part of it was going to be a much smaller portion than we thought. And that the project itself, the well, and then the plumbing was nowhere near what we thought our original estimate was.
Yeah.
You know, we were thinking it was gonna be over $1 million. At one point, we thought like 1.2 million.
1.2, that's
Yeah.
the number I had in my head.
But he said it's much less than that. And then we also put in an application to get some sort of subsidy to help kind of offset it. That's the purpose of our meeting that we're gonna have.
I would say as we try to sell, and I think it's the next part of the agenda. But as we try to market and sell this bond, the number of grants that are going along with these
Mhm.
projects, I think. are gonna be huge. Like, we get all this extra money if we do these things.
But yeah, that, our grant writer is communication with his office, I think the application.
Okay, I didn't know that number just went down so
Oh, no, yeah.
drastically. I
He-
didn't know.
He
if
had
we
said
were-
that, the cost that they thought was gonna be.
Yeah, and there was another grant that the Clean Water Act, Department of Environmental Science, DEM, yeah, which would offset maybe the cost of the engineering. Yeah.
We're gonna discuss that next week.
Mhm.
with the
Yeah, we already put in the
Department of
paperwork.
Health and,
Yeah.
Northeast Water.
So the answer is that it's
Yeah.
less than we thought.
Great.
Any other questions on stage 2 updates?
I think this is within a sustainable school protocol. I'm looking at this document very, very quickly, but there are some elements in here that are actually addressed in the comprehensive plan.
Hmm.
So I think.
That's
if you-
great.
Yeah, if you pull up the comprehensive plan, you'll see that there's a lot of information related to environmental vision, et cetera. So you may not have to start from scratch because some vision statements and other kinds of action items will already be in there.
That's
Okay, so you
fantastic.
won't have to start from the beginning.
That's great.
All right. Marketing strategy update.
So we had a meeting, we have another one coming up. Dr. Dixon was there, she can chime in as well. So we kind of went through a few different things. We had people join in person and virtually. We went over what the project is, what the purpose of the group is. And then we also had somebody present to us, a marketing person present to us what kind of work they would do in the scope of the project and the cost. And then we kind of set our next meeting. So I can kind of go through it a little bit at a time. So we have an agenda for Friday. And our priority on Fridays, we have to basically like incorporate as a group. So that we are following the Secretary of State's guidelines in terms of forming a PAC. So I have the paperwork. I also shared it electronically. So the first thing we're gonna work on is coming up with a name, coming up with officers. I think we need to get a federal identification number so we can set up a bank account, like get all the paperwork done on that prop of the project and getting that all filled out. The marketing proposal that we got, I'll go over it right now. We're gonna discuss as well. So the person who presented to us presented a project that the cost would be the proposal $17,740. There's a retainer fee, 2,500 per month, included, not included, but it's all itemized out, is web landing page development, including a hosting domain and SSL certificate, social media ads, social media placement budget, direct mailing design, door knocker design, brochure design, newspaper print ads and design, newspaper placements, lawn sign design. So it's not a big, school-based marketing project like we were doing $100 million project, but for the kind of project we're doing, it probably fits pretty close into what we need to do in terms of raising money to pay for it. So we talked about that a little bit, and we could swap things out. So if the group decides that, a web page, landing page is not how they want to spend $1,500, we can say to the marketing professional, we'd like to do something different. So that was that. So we're gonna go over that proposal, and then we're gonna create a contact sheet so we can stay in touch with each other. Then we're gonna start talking about specific fundraising strategies and then a timeline that goes with that.
How many people are you?
I think we had three on the screen, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 in the room, so 7. And one of them was the marketing person. Some people couldn't make it, so there's 2 or 3 people that were invited that couldn't make it. They're coming to the next meeting. But then there was one person who did come to the meeting who notified me that she doesn't think she can do this. She supports the project, she'll talk to her friends, she'll retweet and repost, but she can't commit. She has little kids, she can't commit the time. Because we're actually talking about meeting weekly until we get everything like put in place. And then once it's rolling, maybe we don't have to meet as often, but we're gonna try to meet weekly to get this going.
The biggest thing I would say for this group is to not try and cheapen out in
Mhm.
terms of like, because you might try and say like, oh, my friend could do this, and then I could print this with Vistaprint, and then it's like, it's everybody that is busy and has lives, and I don't want any messaging or tactics
Mhm.
involved in practice.
I would say maybe ask the marketing person, like, let us know where we can save a little money, but don't let us decide.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let the marketing professional say what needs to be done.
Yeah, well, I think the
Not a lot of time.
proposal given was throwing the whole gamut, like the whole menu of options, so that they could do anything from there.
Okay.
Yes, and also keeping in mind that we probably have limited funds, right? So I think
Right.
she did not create something that was so gigantic that we would never even be able to entertain it.
And I'm sure they have resources as well, right, that could give them a better, what do you call it, rate of the business. So, we do it, you do it, I do the best that you said. They do it all.
It would be nice to know that someone's dedicated. to
Right,
policing
exactly.
guidelines.
The person running the show is taking care of it.
Yes, and
So-
it's not falling out of patterns.
Right.
So just to use a round number, let's just say it's $20,000. And that was the high end of her estimate. She said 15 to 20. That's what the marketing team has to raise to pay for that project. So that becomes the target number. And then what do we do as soon as we possibly can to get that? But we have some people on our committee that have connections with some of the different trade union businesses in towns, things like that. So and some of the people on our committee are also been very involved in local PTOs and PTAs and have had a successful track record of raising money for schools. So I think we probably have a really good, strong team in place. We just need to hit the ground and get that funding going so that we can do this. But we need to establish ourselves first, so when people write us checks, we can go deposit those.
May I add something?
Absolutely.
Thank you. There was a woman who was presented as a potential candidate
Mhm.
to work. So we didn't take a vote on whether we wanted this person or not, and I don't think she really had a lot of time to present what she would do for us, and there were some questions that were posed to her about how she would identify target populations, et cetera, and how she would proceed. But she really wasn't able to give too many specifics at this particular point in time. So I came away from the meeting not being sure if at this next meeting, we were going to meet other candidates, or whether we were just going to vote for this woman and accept her. So I was a little confused
Yep.
because it sounded like it wasn't a done deal with this woman. And I wasn't sure how the other members of the meeting or membership.
So
decided.
interesting enough, one of the members of the committee had somebody they were gonna bring in.
Yeah,
And I don't know if that person was gonna physically be in the room or just come in with a proposal for us to review. And in talking to that person, mentioned who did our first meeting
yes.
and said, oh, that's the person we need to go with. And
So.
yeah,
And I'll just say this, as someone who pitches business for marketing, you're not gonna give away how you do your business, because then you can just say, oh, I'll do it
Myself.
myself.
Yeah, I'll do it myself.
Yes, so that's why they're not gonna give you every single specific of how they'll.
Everyone thinks they can do more.
Yes,
Well, I mean, I was questioning as to whether using this person was a done deal or whether we were actually soliciting other potential
Yeah.
people to do the work.
so anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not part of the committee. I'm not influencing the committee other than to say, this is the project, this is what's going on. I'm not a voting member. I'm not gonna. So I purposely invited her in to present something, just to present something. If the committee said they loved her at the next meeting and that's what they want to do, then that's,
I'd say you gotta set a deadline though.
Yes.
You fix it.
Yep.
I think you've got like a week.
Yep.
And you gotta-
but I will say we did have a second person lined up that was gonna come. And once that person knew who the first person we talked to was, said you should just go with that person. So,
And I'm just saying, as a member of
Mhm.
that group, I came away not knowing
Yeah.
what's gonna happen next. Are we gonna meet somebody else?
Mhm.
Is this person we met? Is she the person? Are we gonna have to vote for? her?
Yeah.
What have you?
my intent was to have a second one come in, but
Yeah.
that fell through. So if I can get another one, I will, but that was my intent to have a second person come in.
That would be great.
And because it's a pack, you don't have to go through the RFP.
No,
process. It's a
no.
RFP.
And one of the issues that came up, we also discussed target market, target population. Who is our target population? There are a number of people at this group who are related to the schools. And I think there's a general feeling that if you just get the PTOs on board, you'll get enough votes, but I'm not really so sure that that's true. So I think there has to be a little more discussion on who are we targeting and who do we want to really, where do we want to really put our efforts and our money?
And the understanding that you've got 2 weeks of early voting.
Mhm. Yeah, we talked about that.
So you gotta decide when you're gonna do your spend and
Mhm.
line with that.
That's on that, right? You know, the population that votes early, and that's where maybe you start your marketing efforts and kind of work your way toward.
So knowing that the vote is October 3rd. And September is the first week of school and the month of all open houses. It seems to make sense to me, and the group can talk about this and we can, whoever we partner with can help us develop a plan, but I would say we should be ready to be really saturating Coventry with information about our project by September 1st, like. That has to be,
Yeah, like the landing page live,
Mhm.
all of your one pagers and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to think that you get to say in your pitches of the open houses, yeah, you can go by and cast your vote
Mhm.
between this time and this time, in these 2 weeks,
Right.
like.
I mean, I'm already starting to get stuff for back to school.
it's that
Like,
time.
Joe already sent out his initially, so we're landing.
Mhm.
I already sent mine.
So I would impress upon that committee Friday a sense of urgency.
Mhm.
They really need to get to the one.
Yeah, I agree.
And then whoever, if they can at least get a donation of whatever the first retainer is. Just to get started and that person can develop the campaign.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, what is it, 2,500?
Per month.
Yeah, so if whoever, if you guys can fundraise a quick 2,500,
Mhm.
just to make that.
Mhm.
Or you make an agreement with them to say, assume, or, within a window, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I'm sure this is. Time.
And honestly, you're all community members, people who live in town. If you want to participate, just let me know and I'll let you. I kind of thought it was a good idea to have maybe a separate group that wasn't part of this committee, so that it's separate work.
But I think definitely utilize us for with any fundraising,
Mhm.
like have
To
us
help out.
help
100%,
share that sort of thing.
100%.
Can I ask, do we own, you talked about the domain, is that something, I mean, the website, is that something we keep and own after this project, or does she hold it? Cause it might be convenient for, moving forward.
I
right?
think
Yeah.
because she's charging us, web page landing development, including hosting domain and SSL, I think it
You
would be
would
us.
know that.
You
Yeah,
don't
do
know.
it just-
And I like your thinking, if that becomes the home of all updates about any
Yeah.
Coventry school construction.
And I'd say even if it's grants that happen that don't have anything to do with bonds, update that website.
Yeah. Right, if we can get that, if we get the auditorium work done this winter. Even though the money's not necessarily connected to the bond, I would put pictures up of, you know,
100%.
Progress.
here's some
If
work. we're
progress
doing.
is happening and people
Yeah.
have paid for it in their tax dollars,
Yes.
which they have.
Yep.
Whether it's their state taxes, their federal
Yeah.
taxes, or their local taxes.
Already voted.
Ray, any other comments, questions on marketing?
And just, I got a question sent to me, but someone must be listening that's asking, are we voting on the bond on October 3rd?
Yes,
So that's the bond vote date,
yes,
25 million.
yes.
Or 2 weeks early.
There's early voting the 2 weeks before. Yep.
September 18th.
And it'll be just like regular election over in that hallway, in front of the board campus. That's where they had it last time. So. I think it's 8 to 4. That's what they did. Every day.
Those people with jobs. I just.
I know.
But at least the more days of inconvenience, you can like take a long lunch for one day.
You know what?
You just picked up the kids from school, why don't you stop over here?
Drops off at 7.
You mean like at 5 when they open, I'm like, you're there.
Put a put a Dell's truck outside,
Yeah.
swing over, and get some Dells.
But I would say, you also wanna consider for this pack, like, are you gonna have people stand outside the polls and,
Mhm.
like, they're gonna hold signs and give and hand out outside the chalk line, of course,
Mhm.
and a door hanger, a palm card, or you're gonna have shifts and, how you wanna do that.
Yeah.
All that stuff has to be.
Yep.
thought out.
Yep. And,
Same thing with early voting. That sometimes is worthwhile to have people stand outside. You don't have to do it every day, but
If you think the older population is going to vote either way too, we might want to really talk about like, hey, our last bond was for senior center.
Mhm.
And this bond is going the other direction so that future bonds can go towards roads.
Mhm.
Talk about the size of the bond and how it's gonna be impactful, but how it also.
there's gonna be multiple audiences. We shouldn't try to jam the same message in all of them.
Nope.
All right. Thanks, Doug. Public comment, we just got some.
It's our first public comment.
Yeah. I don't see anybody here. In terms of our next meeting,
so, I mean, you can do whatever you want. Our vote is the 10th, your vote's the 22nd. I don't know
there's not much for us.
for this group to do between now and
I
then.
Unless there's some way she-
I would say this group should take a look at whatever out of the overall like strategy that's developed.
So I can send that out electronically.
That's a good idea too.
Yeah, we don't, I mean, if you want to meet, we can meet, but once we develop our timeline, our plan, our budget, I can just electronically, I can set a dedicated folder up in our drive and just
Yeah.
say, here's our folder for marketing.
Yep.
Just keep everybody up to
Yep.
date. So you can pick the meeting date, but I just don't know if it's necessary to go like on a tight every
No, I don't think we need to go with that.
2 week kind of schedule thing.
And I know that you guys are gonna get slammed soon as it gets to end of August, early September. Yeah. I do think we should have one scheduled as a fit, like a fail safe in case, things are not progressing the way they should be and if we don't need it, we don't need it.
September 6th.
Do we need to, when do we vote the stage 2? Did we?
We
already-
did.
We
We
did,
did.
okay.
So
That's school committee and town council.
We're the 22nd. The. town council.
We're busy on the 23rd.
And September 6th, maybe, that's kind of a month before.
Also, my birthday. was supposed to be nothing.
The following week is all of the open houses.
Yeah,
So
the sixth-
everybody will be.
the sixth is open for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's say September 6th for now. Doc.
Okay,
September 6th.
I was gonna go. Next quarter, right?
If we need it, we need it. If you feel like things are going swimmingly,
Mhm.
that's fine.
Did anybody have one open house on the 6th?
I don't think, I think it's all the week after,
Okay,
the following week. I can check.
I mean, I can pull it up too. I have the calendar.
Yeah, I'd start to get concerned if we don't have somebody signed on it for a consultant next week. Because then we need time to print
No
any
reasons.
posters,
Mhm.
flyers, or anything
Yeah.
for that second week of September.
Yep.
And there's stuff like that that we could maybe, like, if they come in and say, hey, everything's ready, right? So it sounds like she's gonna get it to a point. I didn't hear that she's printing it. She's gonna design it all, right? Doesn't seem to be.
Oh, no, that's what she said. She goes, I think in the proposal, it was like anything that's not, like if you wanted to print a direct mail piece, like that cost is not included. It's just.
The
their
design.
services. Yeah.
You have people, like, I know people who, like, there's my friend about like, you know, she's like, oh, that's my guy, so we can get price out. certain
Yeah.
prices.
Yeah. Yep. The only thing we have to be like really careful of, not for your guy, but like the school department can't be too
Oh, no.
heavily tied into this, you know what I mean? Like, once this committee is going, in fact, I even said to them, once the committee gets organized and we're kind of helping them go, there may be meetings that they have that I don't attend. Like, cause
Yep.
they
Yeah,
need
just
to,
get them going.
they need to be
Standing
autonomous,
up on
you
their
know?
own, yeah.
I feel like this is, you know, for the record, I feel like this committee, this is like the most incestuous thing I've ever seen in my life. School department, school committee, town council, building committee. like
You name it,
everybody-
you're in it.
In the room, I look around, it's like all
Yeah.
Karen,
people of that ilk. And you don't know, that's, you're all very nice people, but it's just, you know.
You don't have
very
to say it.
just, you know, citizens.
Then they
Yeah.
purposely picked people like that took a lot. Who are on other things.
check all the boxes.
Yeah, that's true. That's the composition, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps.
All right, if there's no other public comments, I'll take a motion to adjourn at 7:14 PM.
Motion to adjourn the school building committee with 7:15 PM.
Motion, for a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, we stand adjourned until September 6th.
Somebody's-